And salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be doing my November wrap-up. I'm going to be talking about all of the books I read in November, plus some of my favorite TV shows and movies. Hello, how are you? Hi, hello, how you doing? How is your holiday season going? I hope it's going well. I know it can be stressful, bestie, but I'm here for you. I want to know how you're doing, what you're reading. Let me know in the comments down below. Today we're doing our November wrap-up. Is it late? Yes. But is it here? Also, yes. I feel like that is really my motto recently. Like, am I a little bit of a mess? Yeah. Absolutely. But am I here? Yeah, I'm still here, babe. I'm still here, and we're gonna take that as the win that it is. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up November. I feel like in the later half of the year, I just have not been reading as many books as I normally do, but I'm still having so many 5 stars, so many 4 stars that it kind of just balances itself out. I am usually busier towards the later half of the year because of the holidays, vacations, things like that. In the last 2 weeks of November, we had Thanksgiving. I was gearing up and pre-filming for Vlogmas, and then I also was traveling. Me and my family went to Europe and had an absolute blast. So I was very busy in November, and I didn't get to read that much. In fact, all of the books that I think I read on the plane. So I ended up reading 8 books in the month of November, but we had a lot of 5 stars and 4 stars. I read 8 total books in the month of November. Everything I read was queer. Everything. It was either male or it was poly. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. That's definitely my vibe. Definitely adds up to my reading taste. Out of the 8 books, I had 3 5 stars, 3 4 stars, and 2 3 stars. Nothing less than a 3 star. Everything I read, I thoroughly enjoyed. And I also think everything I read is also on Kindle Unlimited. We had a very heavy Kindle Unlimited month because I was reading a lot on my Kindle as I was traveling. We're going to go in no particular order because I really did love everything that I read. There are some authors that I read multiple books by them, so we'll kind of lump those together. All right, hands down, bar none, my favorite book that I read this month. And is this my new favorite book that I've ever read? Ever? I don't know, it's kind of dramatic. No, that's dramatic. But I really did love this book, and it's called Reluctantly You by Cora Rose. This is the 3rd book in her R Exception series. I talked about the first 2 books in this series last month because I did read them in October. Essentially, this series are a bunch of angsty male-male romances with a heavy bi-awakening trope in them. It follows 3 brothers who come from a background that is really not that accepting. Their father was extremely toxic and not accepting of other cultures and backgrounds and sexualities. They have a younger brother who is gay and came out a couple years ago, and the way they responded was terrible. It was terrible. They kind of adopted a lot of their father's homophobic rhetoric and behavior, basically making the same mistakes and not being understanding themselves. But in this series, you get to follow the 3 brothers as they are learning to be more accepting and how to right their previous wrongs. They all really want to have a relationship with their younger brother. In doing that, they also discover their own sexuality. All of these are male-male romances. Now, this is very angsty, very messy. I want to give that warning. I can see potentially how this could be triggering for some people because there is a lot of mentions of homophobia by their father and by their family members. The thing is, though, as I was reading this and also reflecting on my own coming out story and queer experience, it just felt very relatable and raw and real and messy in a way that life is messy. So there's something about this series that I think is just so well done, so incredibly romantic, but it is angsty, and make sure to check out the trigger warnings. Have to give that disclaimer. Anyways, Reluctantly You follows the oldest brother. I gave every book in the series 5 stars, but this one right here, my favorite. It's like a 10 star, okay? Above and beyond. I love this one so much. Follows the eldest brother, Mitch, who is going through it. He's going through it. He's lived his life constantly trying to impress his father, who's a terrible man. And he's gone through life just angry and frustrated, and because of that, it has affected his relationships at work and with his brothers and with his friends. Our hero Mitch works for his father's company, and his entire life he had always been told that he was going to inherit the company. So that is what he's been working for, that is what he has been dedicating his entire life for. And then one day he comes into work and realizes that his father sold the company and didn't leave him anything. Not a damn thing. And in fact, they have a new CEO. He has a new boss. His name is Gideon. Gideon thinks that Mitch is a spoiled Nepo baby. He thinks that he's a brat. Very dominating personality. He comes into this new business ready to shake things up, and Mitch is not used to that, okay? Starts off as a little bit of an enemies to lovers romance. Mitch's father was involved in quite a few poor business practices that really heavily impacted Gideon's family, especially his father. So Gideon is kind of looking for revenge and trying to find that in Mitch, but instead they end up finding a really intense connection with one another. It does have a lot of power dynamics, some BDSM elements, very angsty, very messy, but it's the best. It really is the best. I love the pairing of our two characters. They fit each other so well. It's so emotional. I know I talked about that book a lot, but oh my god, it's so good. Because I love that book so much, I wanted to read more Cora Rose, so I decided to start with her Unexpected series. I think this is actually her first series that she's ever written, so a lot of people tend to start here, but I mean, you can read anything out of order. The first book in the series is called Wit, and I gave it 4 stars. This is a male-male friends lovers romance with our two heroes, Caleb and Wit. Wit puts out an ad to get a roommate. Now, he's a little bit of a trust fund baby. He absolutely has the money to have his own apartment, but he's sort of like rebelling against his parents. His parents don't want him to be at college. Kind of like an act of rebellion and doing his own thing. He decides to stay in college and get a roommate, and that is where our hero Caleb comes in. Our two characters are polar opposites, definite opposites attract. Is a little bit more introverted. Literally all he wants to do is just curl up on his couch and read his Kindle. I can heavily relate. And then our hero Caleb is the definition of a golden retriever, a little bit of a frat boy, kind of a jock, and he's also straight. Or at least he thinks that he is. The two of them instantly become friends and get closer and closer. This has a huge bi-awakening trope in it. Caleb, our hero, is absolutely obsessed with Wit and like quickly realizes all he wants to do is spend time with him. All he wants to do is be close to him. The chemistry and the connection between our characters is electric. I love how obsessed they are with each other. So if you love an obsessed hero, a bi-awakening trope, friends to lovers, this is the one for you. It was so good. I gave it 4 stars. Probably would have rated it higher if I hadn't already read some of her other books that I liked just a little bit more. Right, next up, I read some Eden Finley and Saxon James books. You guys know I love Eden Finley and Saxon James. I love their individual backlists, and I also absolutely adore when they co-write together. When the two of them co-write, magic. 10 out of 10. I normally love. I write a lot of male queer romances, especially sports romances, and that is one that I did pick up, and it's called Forbidden Puck Boys. It's technically the 7th book in the Puck Boy series, which is a male hockey romance series. I'll say though that this is one of the books in the series that I could totally see you reading out of order and like still understanding what's going on. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I really did enjoy it, but I have read so much of their backlist that I do have other favorites, and you can't help but compare. So loved it, but there are other books in the series that I loved more. This is a male hockey romance, friends to lovers with a brother's best friend trope. So lots of tropes there. Romance between our heroes Knox and Easton. Easton has been hopelessly in love with his brother's best friend for like the longest time. His brother is a little protective. His older brother is a little protective. Easton is a professional hockey player, but so are his 2 other brothers. So he's kind of constantly living in their shadow, and he cannot seem to get out of the friend zone when it comes to his brother's best friend. Our other hero is a hockey referee, and he has also been hopelessly in love with our hero Easton, but has never really made a move because he doesn't want to ruin the friendship that he has with his best friend, and his best friend has made it very clear that he does not want him to be with his brother. 2 of them are still continuously drawn to each other, and it's very obvious they have a really intense connection. There are so many things keeping them apart, not only because it's a brother's best friend trope, but also because their schedules, being a referee and a hockey player, never really kind of like match up, and they have to figure out how to make things work. This one was really good, but I wanted our characters to like be together more. Like, our characters spent a lot of time apart, which was a huge conflict in the book, and I kind of understood why that was a plot point, but even still, I wanted them together more. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. Love this series though. Love Eden Finley and Saxon James. You should totally read all of their sports romance series, their fake boyfriend series, their CU hockey series, their pup boy series, all of it. All of it is so good. And then I decided to read some of their individual books. So I ended up reading The Backup Plan by Eden Finley. This one is the first book in the King Sports series, and I gave it 5 stars. Now, Eden Finley and Saxon James, their universe is extensive, okay? A lot of their books connect. You can read them out of order, but the benefit of reading kind of like their entire backlist is you will see side characters throughout different series, and this series is no different. So it is the first book in the King Sports series, which ties into her fake boyfriend series. There is a book called Fake Out. It follows our hero Damon King, who is a sports agent, specifically an agent for the queer community, representing queer athletes that have really struggled to fit in after coming out. That is such a good book. I've talked about it so much, but he creates this empire of a sports agency that then leads into the series that I'm about to talk about. Hopefully that makes sense, but The Backup Plan is a male-male romance between our characters Thad and Kelly. This is an enemies to lovers romance. Our hero Thad had dreams of being a professional baseball player, and he didn't get injured or anything like that, but he just wasn't good enough. He was fantastic and wonderful in his small town and in his small circle, but when he tried to make the major league, he just couldn't do it. He's absolutely devastated, but still wants to somehow be connected to baseball because he loves the sport. So he ends up getting a huge opportunity and getting an internship at the King's Sports Agency. Our other hero, Kelly, is a professional baseball player. He is a pitcher who has recently come out as gay, and he's receiving a lot of backlash on social media. He struggles with a lot of anxiety and is finding himself just doom scrolling all over his social media, seeing all of the hateful comments and struggling so hard. So he needs to go on like a social media cleanse to really get his head in the game, and our hero Thad gets tasked with making sure that he stays off his phone. That's why I call it like a babysitting job, because Thad ends up getting tasked to go on a retreat with Kelly and make sure that he stays off his phone. Thad thinks that Kelly is an absolute spoiled brat and doesn't realize how good he has it, and Kelly is really struggling with his social anxiety and thinks that Thad is an asshole. They do have really intense chemistry, and it ends up following their enemies to lovers romance. It was so good. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. Such a good start to the series. And then the next book I read was by Saxon James, and it was another 5-star. This one is the 4th book in the Accidental Love series. It's called Just Romantically Invested, and it is a friends to lovers romance. This entire series has a huge found family trope. It is a set of male-male romances following different roommates that all live in like this one house. This one follows our heroes Madden and Penn. Madden is gay and has been hopelessly in love with his best friend Penn for as long as he can remember, but Penn is straight. So he has kind of come to terms with the fact that their relationship will never happen, but Penn is like his person. One person that he doesn't have to perform with, the one person who understands him. So he's kind of okay with just being friends, and in fact he goes on this grand mission trying to help Penn find a girlfriend. As he's like trying to set him up on blind dates and helping him find a girlfriend, Penn realizes that the only person he wants to be around is Madden. So it also has a bi-awakening trope, which you guys know I love so much. It's like my favorite trope ever, and it really is just 2 best friends realizing that they want to be more than just friends. It's adorable. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. All right, and then the last 3 books that I read this month were all omegaverse books, and they were all poly omegaverse, which we love. First up, I read Puck Around and Find Out by Sarah Blue. This is the 3rd book in her Pucked Up omegaverse series, but you can read it out of order. This is a poly omegaverse, which is the best kind. It has 2 male alphas, a male beta, and then a female omega. If you're not familiar with omegaverse, bestie. It's the best. It's quite literally the best thing ever. I need you to get on board with it. If you want a place to start, Sarah Blue actually is a really good place. She has a ton of amazing omegaverse. This series in particular is all hockey romances, which is even more fun. This book follows our heroine Sloane, who is looking to build her pack, and she knows exactly how she wants to build it. She does the marketing and social media for a professional hockey player, and she has her eyes on quite a few guys. However, it's a little bit forbidden because her father is that hockey team's owner. He has made it crystal clear that he does not want his daughter anywhere around the hockey players. The unfortunate thing is the alphas that she is the most attracted to are 2 of the professional hockey players and the mascot. It was such a good poly romance because I loved how all of the characters were as one poly dynamic. I also loved how they each had their own individual romances and connections with each other. It was so well written, exactly what I'm looking for when it comes to poly romances and omegaverse, so I gave it 4 stars. The next poly omegaverse that I read and loved was called Class Omega. This is the first book in the Mafia Darlings omegaverse series. This one really has so many of my favorite tropes: mafia romance, poly romance, omegaverse. Sign me up. Omegaverse has 2 male alphas and 1 female omega. Our heroine Perry is an omega, and she is the daughter of a politician. Her father is terrible. He's awful, okay? Heroine was quite sick when she was younger. She had leukemia. A lot of her doctors didn't think that she was going to make it. She does end up having a full recovery, and the second that she's given a clean bill of health, her father tries to marry her off to a mafia family for political gain. Heroine is set up in this arranged marriage with a pack that she knows absolutely nothing about. They don't want to marry her. She doesn't want to marry them. And the day of her wedding, she's shaking in her boots. She doesn't want this to happen. And guess what happens? Her wedding gets crashed. A rival mafia family ends up crashing her wedding and kidnapping her. Our hero Edison is an alpha and the leader of the Irish mafia, and he has his eyes set on our heroine, but he also has his eyes set on his alpha bodyguard. Bodyguard has been his best friend for years and years and years, but the two of them have an intense chemistry with one another, and our hero is absolutely determined to form his pack with his alpha best friend and his omega that he kidnaps. This being a mafia captive age gap romance, it's surprisingly very, very sweet. Okay, the romance between all of our characters was adorable. I love how absolutely obsessed they are with each other. It was so good. I gave it 4 stars and definitely want to read more in the series. And then the last book I read in the month was called A Pack for Autumn by Emily Emerson. This is the first book in the Cozyverse series. This one is more reverse harem. It's 3 male alphas and 1 female omega, but none of the guys are in a romantic relationship. No sword crossing. No sword crossing. It's really focused on just the girl. Anyways, The Pack for Autumn is kind of described as a cozy small town romance that happens to be omegaverse. And that's really the best description of it. Follows our heroine Olive, who actually lost both of her parents very recently, and she is grieving them. Both of her parents were lobstermen. They were out on the boat collecting lobsters. I don't know. What is fishers? Were they fishermen? Fishermen. They were fishermen. I don't know. Anyways, she grew up her entire life on the ocean, and after her parents passed away, she is definitely missing that. So she ends up accepting a job in a small town to be a lighthouse keeper. She's very introverted, suffers a lot from social anxiety, and kind of just wants to keep to herself. But when she gets there, she ends up meeting 3 alphas who are already in an existing pack, and the 3 of them are determined to have her be a part of their pack. This very much gives small town romance. Very much gives Gilmore Girls. Very, very cozy. Lots of nosy neighbors. Basically follows our 3 heroes as they are trying to court our very shy, introverted heroine, who is an omega. It's cute. It was cute. I give it 3 stars. I loved the small town romance vibes. I loved the small town vibes. The side characters were my absolute favorite, which is good because I know this is going to become a series. The second book comes out this month, I think, and it's called A Pack for Winter. So it's winter themed. I liked it but didn't love it. Gave it 3 stars. That was all the books we read. Oh my gosh, we're all done. So 5 stars. Lots of queer romances, poly romances, omegaverse. You guys know the drill. You guys know my reading taste at this point. All right, those are all of my favorites. All of my favorites. I was yapping in this video, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you stayed this long and you enjoyed the video, what emoji should you leave me? Leave me a green and pink heart. Leave me a green and pink heart in honor of Wicked and the movement that it has now become. Yeah, that's a good emoji. So leave me a green and pink heart if you stayed this long, and I will know that we're bookish besties. I am participating in Vlogmas, so you will have videos every single day for the month of December. So you'll see me yapping a lot more, and I hope you guys will stick with me. I love you guys so much. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Bye. I love you so much.